Hey guys, my man WBA here, back again with another episode of Can't Stop Progress. We're here with chapter 57. We're back at Alexandra Palace for chapter 57. Bit of a break between this episode and the last episode, about 2 weeks. I kind of needed a little break from the save. I needed to get some fresh ideas going with where I wanted to go going forwards with the save. I was also a little bit busy, I had a bit of a cold as well, and it was just a good time to recharge and refresh some ideas of what I want to do going forward. So I've got a couple of little stories that are going to end sort of in the next couple of chapters, coming up to chapter 60, and following that we will be ploughing ahead with hopefully some exciting new ideas. So we're going to get into the show. We're in front of a sold out 3,100 people at Alexandra Palace. Jim Smallman does his traditional welcome, just thanking the crowd for coming and welcoming them to the show. A 31 E+ for that isn't too bad. It's very what we've come to expect from Jim. Unfortunately, just due to the maybe potentially quite short nature of the intros, he isn't really improving that much. His ratings are staying around the same. I have started doing them a little bit longer, in the hopes that he will maybe improve in his microphone skills or his performance skills and maybe edge his way up in the ratings. But we're happy with 31 E+ for now. As we go into our first match of the night, which is sort of a rematch a little bit from last week, where Flash Morgan Webster faces Shane Strickland and Pastor William Eva in a triple threat. And in a bout that had decent wrestling but not a lot of heat, Morgan Webster defeats Shane Strickland and William Eva, when Morgan Webster defeated Eva by pinfall following a 450 splash. Webster and Strickland, of course, were in the fatal four-way on the last show with Leo Rush and Zack Gibson. They're in a triple threat tonight with William Eva, who unfortunately takes the pin. Match got the crowd hotter. Webster getting himself a 44, Strickland getting a 47, and Eva getting a 38. So decent performances all around from these three guys. A 44D match overall is a decent way to start us off. So we go to our next match, which is the tag team #1 contenders match between CCK and Ringkampf, where in a bout that had decent wrestling but didn't have much heat, Ringkampf, Axel Dieter Jr. and Volta become your new tag team #1 contenders, defeating CCK in 13 minutes and 32, when Axel Dieter Jr. defeated Kid Lycos by pinfall with a quick cradle, following a distraction from Trent Seven and Tyler Bate, Mustache Mountain, British Strong Style, distracting Kid Lycos as they go for the finish. Axel Dieter Jr. takes advantage, getting the flash pin and becoming the #1 contender for the tag team titles. Kid Lycos getting a very impressive 52, Chris Brooks getting a 38, Volta unfortunately off his game with a 42, and Axel Dieter Jr. with a 54. Chris Brooks improving his flying skills in that match. It's very nice to see, as he was the lowest rated, but hopefully he'll be catching up a little bit with some of the other guys. Kid Lycos having a very impressive score there, in my opinion, of 52. Giving us a 48D+ rating overall for the match. And following that, CCK chase after British Strong Style, chasing them to the back, but they don't quite get their hands on them. But they'll be hoping to get their hands on them on the next show. A 28E for that little angle there. As we go into our next match, and the next match in the Natural Progression series for 2017/18. I believe it's the 5th Natural Progression series. We're in a bout that had subpar wrestling and little heat. Jack Sexsmith defeats the debuting HC Dyer of UK Championship Tournament fame in 9 minutes and 55 seconds by pinfall with a Pearl Neckbreaker. Dyer debuts his cocky gimmick, which does decently. Gets a 34 in-ring performance to Jack Sexsmith's 32 as well. And he improves in his performance skills. But a 36D-, not bad there for two guys lower down the card. Obviously Dyer on his debut. Sexsmith's been around for a while. but he's trying to build up his legitimacy as an actual solid in-ring performer, as opposed to just an entertainer and a bit of a joke. Following that, we have our women's title match. We're in a bout that had decent wrestling, but not a lot of heat. Ginny defeats Laura Di Matteo in 13 minutes and 15 seconds by stoppage when Laura Di Matteo could no longer continue. Ginny wins the Progress Women's title. Ginny with a 38, Laura Di Matteo with a 44. No work improvements, unfortunately, but Ginny, not content with just beating Laura Di Matteo, just continues her assault on her until the referee has no option but to stop the match, and Ginny finally gets her hands on the Progress Women's title. A 44D there, unfortunately no improvements, but a decent match there for the women, and we're going to have to see what happens with Ginny going forward. Following the match, Ginny stands tall and just kicks Laura as she gets stretchered out of the ring. Obviously, the ambulance crew at ringside, or the paramedics I should say, having to carry Laura out following the beating in the match. But following that, we go into the next match, where in a decent match, Mark Haskins defeated Paul Robinson in 13 minutes and 52 seconds by submission with a sharpshooter. Mark Haskins getting an in-ring performance of 60 and Paul Robinson getting a 50. No worker improvements from that match, unfortunately, but 60C is a solid match between two solid in-ring performers on our roster. Mark Haskins still trying to fight his way back up towards title contention, and having beaten the current champion Will Ospreay's lackey in Paul Robinson, he might be forcing his way back up to the top. Following that, we have our Atlas title match, where in a decent match, Timothy Thatcher defeats Joe Coffey in 13 minutes and 18 seconds when Joe Coffey intentionally gets himself counted out to help retain his title. Joe Coffey getting an in-ring performance of 50 and Timothy Thatcher getting a 41. Unfortunately, no working improvements, but a 46D is a decent Atlas title match. Following that, Jim Smallman picks up the microphone. He announces that due to his performance in that match, Timothy Thatcher will in fact be getting a rematch at the Atlas title, and that match will be a Falls Count Anywhere match, so that Joe Coffey cannot worm his way out by getting himself deliberately counted out. That match will also be no disqualification, Falls Count Anywhere, so hopefully Timothy Thatcher will be able to pick up the win there. Following that, we have what was a Progress World Championship number 1 contenders match, where in a decent match, Travis Banks defeats Zack Gibson in 14 minutes and 37 seconds by pinfall with an airplane slam. But during that match, we had James Drake run in and attack Travis, and Al Ligero in return coming out to attack Zack Gibson. So even though Travis Banks is your new number 1 contender, maybe there'll be something else going on with the 4 men that ended up being involved in this match. So Travis Banks' title match might have to wait a little while yet. Travis Banks getting a 54 to Zack Gibson's 58, so 2 very good in-ring performances there. No improvements, unfortunately, and a 59C is a nice match for those 2, especially considering we had a little bit of shenanigans with the James Drake and Al Ligero run-ins. Following that match though, Will Ospreay comes out and he attacks Travis Banks, laying out his number 1 contender. Another 59C rating there. Ospreay, we're going to have to look towards maybe tweaking his gimmick at some point in the future, but decent for that angle there. As we go into our main event, where Austin Aries finally gets his hands on Pete Dunne, and in a decent match, Austin Aries defeats Pete Dunne in 14 minutes and 33 seconds by submission with a last chancery. So Austin Aries getting an in-ring performance of 55, Pete Dunne getting an in-ring performance of 59 for a 62C overall. No worker improvements. But as we end the show, we get a 58C- rating overall. Kid Lykos apparently used a little bit too much between the match and the angle following it. But the show increases our popularity in 45 regions, which is nice to see. And I think for this post-show speech, bearing in mind that normally Zack Sabre Jr. and Will Ospreay would be on there, but they haven't been on this show, we are going to give it to Austin Aries, Pete Dunne, and to Travis Banks. Normally I would give it to Zack Gibson, because he did actually get the higher rating in that match between Banks and Gibson. But I think we complimented Gibson on either the last episode or the episode before, and I don't think we've complimented Travis yet. So Travis will get it this time. As we continue, as you can see, near the end of the year, so we'll have a quick look in here at what happens. Just a couple of contract extensions. Jack Sexsmith requesting a pay rise, wants to go from 280 to 530. We'll give him a 75% wage rise there. You see there, negotiations to maybe get Dave Mastiff back in for a couple of shows. And if we look at our schedule, we have 2 weeks left until the end of the year. And then following that, maybe either at the end of the next episode or the beginning of the episode after, I will bring you the end of year awards. Just do a quick, or maybe in a separate episode we'll do that. We'll do a quick recap of what's happened in the company so far. We'll maybe take a look at what's happened in the likes of WWE, in Impact, in Ring of Honor. But we'll have to see. But there should be one more show happening in December. And I will see you guys when we do that show in the next episode. So I'll see you soon.